Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to be giving you a fully comprehensive guide on how rotations work within Dokkan Battle. Now, rotations are very important as they are the foundation of how you're going to be playing events within the game, right? Putting units on rotation with each other is very important because from turn to turn, rotation units are the units that you're going to be seeing every other turn, while floaters, as we call them, are ones that you're not going to be seeing every other turn, you're going to be seeing every 2 turns. So, with that being said, I think the first step of rotations is building a team with rotations in mind. So we're going to make this one extremely easy for the sake of the video, and if you are playing global, you can follow along to some degree, but I would say just find whatever team you're running, it's going to come down to that situation, right? So I'm going to try and make this baseline, right? So the superhero team. We're going to be making a team that consists of 2 slot 1 units and then a slot 2 unit to follow up next to them. So typically the slot 1 unit in this game is the unit that can do the defensive tanking and can eat the enemies, they get their defensive capabilities right away. So they can take attacks and they'll be fine. They don't need to do their super attacks in order to get their most defense out, right? While compared to a slot 2 unit, you might need a little bit more time to build them up. They might need to super first to get their defense, or they just complement the slot 1 unit very well. So in this case, we have LR Beast Gohan, the best unit in the game, right? Some units that you want to run him alongside are units that are going to bring the most out of him. And in this case, it's going to be Orange Piccolo or Power Awakened Piccolo. So Beast Gohan is going to be my slot 1 unit. And then we are going to do this right here, right? So now, we have 2 options after we've done this, because Beast Gohan is going to be the unit that we rotate with Piccolo in slot 1, and that's where he's going to stay the whole fight, and Piccolo is going to stay next to him in slot 2 for the rest of the entire fight. So now, what we want to do is set up a second rotation. Now, sometimes what you could do, this is going to be situational, right? And for this instance, we are not going to be using another Beast Gohan in the run that I do, but what we could do is set up a rotation for another Beast Gohan. So say you wanted to have 2 Beast Gohans on your rotations, you would bring a unit like this Ultimate Gohan, that would be the slot 2 unit for the other Beast Gohan. But I'm not going to do that in this video. What I'm going to do is bring the 6-year Easy Ace. So think about, if you look on the page right here, if I bring AGL UI Goku, who are 2 units that you could who are some units that you could potentially want to link up with UI Goku? Some probably jump off the page right away, right? What saga is UI Goku from? He is from the Tournament of Power. So you can see some of these Tournament of Power LRs for options that we could run for him with a rotation, right? So we could run this UI Goku, we could run this Evolution Blue Vegeta, we could bring this Blue Boys, Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta, or hell, we could even bring Master Roshi if we really wanted to, right? Because they have a very Tournament of Power based link set. So that would work out very well because they are going to work well together on a rotation. But in this case, we're going to bring the best unit out of the 3 LRs that we looked at, and that's going to be Evolution Blue Vegeta. So now you can see on the team that we have the first rotation set up with Gohan and Piccolo, and then the second rotation is going to be Goku, UI Goku, and Evolution Blue Vegeta. So now these are going to be the mainstays of our rotations. So slot 1, it can vary with the UI Goku and the Vegeta, but with the first rotation, it's going to be Beast Gohan, and then his slot 2 is going to be Orange Piccolo. So now we want to bring floaters on the team. So these are guys that are going to be helping out and also maintaining the balance, if you will, to the point where they can do things for the team, maybe not provide support, but maybe change orbs, maybe provide defense and be all in all they have utility. So in this case, we're going to bring the Evolution Blue Vegeta and Kaioken Blue Goku, as they are a rainbow orb changer, and they're going to be helping out with making Ki easier for everybody to get, as well as Blue Gogeta, who is going to have defensive utility in the form of his Taunt active skill. So those little tidbits aren't the most important thing ever, but what you would usually want to do in the floating slots would be would be support units or units that could just help the team and not drag it down, right? An example of a unit like that could be the 17, because he is providing Ki and defensive support for everybody, and that helps out a decent bit. So this is the team. That's how you want a team build around rotations. All of these thoughts are what's going through my head as I'm building the team, and I kind of just want to share them with you here. So depending on the team that you're using, your best defensive units go in slot 1, and then the units to help them out the most and can bring the best out of them go in slot 2, and then units to help out the team overall that are going to be good no matter what are going to be your floaters. So that is how it's going to look. And now let's take them into an event that we can kind of show off how to set up rotations within the game now that we have the building portion out of the way. Okay, so now we are over here in an event, and we are going to be looking at the team that I built in action. So, like I said, if you guys remember right away, the rotation that we have set up, I predetermined in the video or in the earlier portion. And as you can see, we got pretty lucky. So, one thing that's really important, I should have mentioned this going into it, the wheel, right? So, this wheel in the bottom right, and again, this isn't going to be this is going to be sort of catered to beginners. So, something that would at least make sense is right here. If you guys see this wheel, we have Piccolo, Gogeta, and Beast Gohan, right? So Piccolo and Beast Gohan, we got lucky, and they are in their first rotation. So this one is set up, and Gogeta is floating, and that's exactly the way we wanted it to go, right? But now, one problem that we ran into is that UI Goku is not going to be linked with Evolution Blue Vegeta. So what we need to do is progress through this turn, and I'll just kind of do this, I'll just kind of explain it as I'm talking, right? Or as I'm playing. But what we need to do now is float off Gogeta, or we're going to keep Gogeta floated off, but what we need to do is make sure the next time we see Vegeta is we float him off on the rotation, so that way we can get him linked up with UI Goku. And the drawback to this is potentially that it could take you a few turns to get it set up the way you want. So now what we have to do is wait all the way until, like, it could be like I think it's like turn 5 before we're going to have them both set up. And this is the drawback with the way the Dokkan works with their rotation system, because you can't really set up the rotations the way you would want them to, right? So it's like, you can't pick your, like, so think about like Legends, right? This, I guess, would be a good example. When you go into a match of PvP in Legends, you can pick the 3 characters you want to bring into the fight, and also the order that they appear in, right? So it's like, you want to start with a certain character, you can pick that. And in Dokkan, you can't do that. That is one of the RNG aspects of the game that you can't really get around. So sometimes your rotations are going to be perfect when you load into the event, and sometimes they're not going to be. Now, when there's events that have unlimited amount of attempts, you can get away with just kind of going in, backing out, and then trying again until you get the rotations you want. But when there's events with limited attempts, that can be a bit of a pain in the butt, because you lose a very good run, or you lose a numbered attempt where you don't have an unlimited amount to just bad RNG that's completely out of your control, right? So things like that can happen, but at least when you have a really good team, it's not going to be the end of the world, because you have setups like this. That's why we build the team with all of these scenarios in mind, right? So just in case the rotations aren't set up perfectly, we can at least still work around that, right? What the other floater that I have on the team, which is the Evolution Blue Vegeta and Kaioken Blue Goku, also links up with UI Goku very well. So we're actually going to put them in slot 1 in this case, because this fight, that kind of shows a bad fight for UI, but UI has his dodge disabled. So he's not going to be able to be at his full potential, so we'll put him in slot 2 right here. So now that we have, like, when I mentioned this earlier, we have the Gammas in slot 3. So the next time we're going to see the Gammas is not on turn 4, we're going to see them again on turn 5, right? Because we'll see them every 3 turns rather than every other turn, right? So, like, you'll see what I mean as we go through the event, right? Honestly, UI Goku might sell us, though. We'll see. Nah, because we can lower his attack. We should be okay. But this has nothing to do with the gameplay. It just has everything to do with how it's going to be set up. So I hope everything is making sense so far with how rotations work. I know it can be a bit overwhelming, and there's a lot of terminology that goes into it, but all in all, it's really not that hard once you get the hang of it. And you're always going to know, like I said, one thing. Also, I forgot to mention this. Another thing that can happen is the friend supporter that you choose can never be in slot 7. So slot 7 is, if you know it's in slot 7, it's I'll show you what slot 7 looks like on the wheel after we get out of this turn, because I guess we're just gonna kill Omega. This team might be too good for this. I'm talking about rotations, and Evolution Blue Vegeta and Kaioken Blue Goku are just going bonkers. Okay, so as I was saying before I was interrupted by the jaw-dropping performance of them, do you see where the Gammas are next to Evolution Blue Vegeta? So we know we're not going to see them for until 2 turns after this, because they're in that 7th slot. So it's like, you see Evolution Blue Vegeta's in slot 1, Beast Gohan's in slot 2, Piccolo's in slot 3, and then it goes Gogeta, Evolution Blue Vegeta, and then UI Goku in slot 4, 5, 6. Or the duo unit in slot 5, and then the Gammas in slot 7. So we're not going to see the Gammas until turn 5, after only seeing them on turn 2. So every 3 turns is when you're going to see your floaters. Slot 1, you're going to have, whatever unit you put there, and then, slot 2 is going to be in that same spot. So another thing to keep in mind as you're doing your rotations is the slot, whatever unit is in, like, the floating unit is always going to appear in slot 1 on the next turn, right? Or the next time you see them, that's where they're going to appear. I hope that makes sense. So it's like right here, because we floated off Gogeta in the first turn, on the next turn, we're going to see him in slot 1. And you could see that based on the order below on the wheel. So, like, I'll be able to explain that again as we go to the next turn. So, I hope that makes sense. And if it is confusing, you can leave a comment down below, and I'm sure I can kind of clear it up a little bit. But all in all, that is how rotations work. It is very simple. If there are a couple things to remember from this video, it's that build your teams with a slot 1 and slot 2 unit in mind on rotations, and then your floaters need to be supporting the team as well. That is one thing you need to remember. Sometimes I like to say in my videos that the third slot, sometimes their job is just to sit pretty and not die, right? Like that, it could just be as simple as that. And sometimes that's what it is. So there we go. Before we head out, I at least want to show you again more examples of how these are going to work and kind of explain the practical scenarios. But I hope this did make sense and your team building will be a little bit easier going forward, because this game can be a little bit intimidating at times. So once you get the hang of it, it's like riding a bike, right? And it's going to be the same thing with rotations. Once you get used to it, it's very simple. So you're going to see on this next turn that Gogeta is in slot 1. So what we want to do is move him to the back, because we're floating him, right? That is the idea. And this guy we would be floating too, but we still haven't gotten our rotations fully set up. So that's when the video will end, when we have our rotations exactly the way we want them, and we have been unable to get that yet. So that sometimes it takes a bit, and this is you know, just the way the game works sometimes. So on turn 6 is when we're going to have everything set up the way we want it, because as you can see, the Gammas are going to be on the next turn with Piccolo and Beast Gohan, because it skips over. You'll see the wheel sometimes can be a little deceiving. But like the Gammas are going to be floating on the next turn with UI Goku, so with Beast Gohan and Piccolo, because that's how I set it up. That's how we built the team. So here we go. Let UI Goku do his thing. This isn't really about the gameplay. It's more of just about seeing the bigger picture of things. So boom, there we go. UI Goku again, just doing an otherworldly amount of damage. You guys have damage reduction. Ow, chill. Okay. Well, I guess they're going to make things a little difficult for us, huh? That's okay. Sometimes these things happen, but it's not the point of the video, right? So now we'll go until we have it set up the way I want it. You can see we're basically there. Sometimes it can just be annoying, right? But Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo have been together the whole time, so that is what we wanted. So let's see. We'll do the standby. All right, we'll do the standby, and I think I quickly have to do Orange Piccolo, because the AoEs are going to do too much damage to Piccolo, maybe. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so after a tumultuous experience with Orange Piccolo, we are back. we had to do the taunt with Ultimate or Beast Gohan just to ensure that we get to the next turn, so I can at least show what I'm talking about. So when you get this very unfortunate circumstance where one of your rotations is in slot 7, and the rotation you want him on is turn 2, this is what's going to happen, right? Like, we weren't able to get our rotation set up till turn 6, and in this case, when we were using a team this good, we're basically going to beat the event before we can even get the turn set up. But I do think we'll at least be able to get one turn in where I'll show you what I'm talking about, and then things are going to pace out the rest of the way, right? So like by the time everything is set up, I'll be able to kind of quickly explain to you guys exactly how this is going to play, because now that we have things where we want them, and this boss is an example of a boss that does not lock any units in a certain slot, we can just go about our rotations with free will and do as we please, right? Because sometimes a boss can lock a unit in slot 1 and then it messes up our rotations, but in this case, they're not going to. So how many times have I said rotations in this video? A lot, but I'm hoping that with this, you guys at least are starting to understand a little bit more how this what seems complex type of system is very, very simple, right? You shouldn't have any trouble with it after this video. So going to it right now, yeah, and again, this is kind of a quicker event now, but especially if you're on global, you're not going to have a team like this that can just go through events like this fast, so don't worry about it, right? But yeah, so finally, we have our rotation set up the way we want them. We have UI Goku with Evolution Blue Vegeta, and then we have Beast Gohan with Orange Piccolo. So I think that was actually good for the video, because I showed you how the worst case scenario, right, where it's going to take you till turn 6 to get it set up. Sometimes it'll be set up on turn 1, or it'll be set up the second you load into the event, right? That can happen, just not in this case. So now what we could do is enjoy the rest of the fight with our rotation set up the way we want them, and however long it takes us to clear the event is however long it takes us to clear the event. But spoiler alert, it's probably going to be finished on this turn, because this team is a little bit crazy, just a little bit. So we shall see. Actually, no, we're dead. Oh no, because we have the revival, I think. Maybe. Do we? Probably. Evolution Blue, yeah, I think we'll have a revive, but that doesn't really matter, right? The whole point of the video is for the rotations, but sometimes you just make a couple skill issues and that'll happen. But let me know down below what you guys think of the guide format that I've been kind of trying to do a little bit of recently. English is hard. I think rotations are one of the common things that people don't really understand, and I really think it's simple. This could have been a 2-minute video, but I felt that a practical in-game example would have been a little bit better for showing off just how it works. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's guide. Good luck with your team building going forward, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of my Dokkan content. I'll catch you all in the next video.